Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, good evening, everybody. On behalf of Chabad of Orange Woodbridge and Chabad of Milford, Hebrew Congregation of Woodmont, I'd like to welcome everyone to this special evening. Thank you for joining us. We are honored and privileged to have Dr. Edith Eger with us tonight. Dr. Eger is a Holocaust survivor, a two-time New York Times best-selling author. She is a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. She is a psychologist with her own practice. And we look forward to hear Dr. Eger's remarkable story of survival, of triumph, and the life lessons that she learned along the way. Just before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors for helping make this evening possible. And so I'd like to thank Mark and Trish Bruder in honor of Remembrance and Holocaust Education for All Generations, Dahlia Coleman in memory of Stephanie Brett Bell, the cousin of Dana McConnell, Dr. Felice Guberman in memory of Yitzchak Ben Uri Halevi and Rachel Gerber, both Holocaust survivors, and in memory of Ira Gerber, a victim of the Holocaust, and all the other victims of the Gerber and Kronish families. I'd like to thank Stephen Shelley Magid in memory of Erwin and Ruth Lehrer and Simon Magid, Michael and Karen Mallon in memory of Karen's mother, Rita Chimes, whose yahrzeit is tonight, Jonathan and Irit Perkins in memory of Irit's mother, Israela Weiser, and Joseph and Phyllis Satin in honor of Chabad of Milford, the Hebrew Congregation of Woodmont. Thank you all for making this possible.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. And on behalf of everybody here, on behalf of Chabad of Orange Woodbridge and on behalf of Chabad of Milford, Hebrew Congregation of Woodmont, it is an honor and privilege to have Dr. Edith Eger with us tonight. Just going to pull her up on the screen here. Hello, Dr. Eger.
Thank you. Hello, hello. I couldn't be more proud to tell you that one thing I know, that the Jewish people were slaves. And then when they get out of slavery, they started on the desert with someone called Moses. And they were walking and walking and walking. My understanding is much more than 40 days and never ever give up. So that's the blood I carry, and that's what I am telling you, that Chabad is my precious children, because love is not what you feel, is what you do. And this is a difference between believing. People tell me, I believe. You know what? I want to know what kind of life you lead. And when I talk to the Chabad, I talk to you, Angel, your rabbi, you know, you commit yourself to someone other than you. That you get up in the morning and wonder, what can you give to the world rather than what the world is giving you? So with that in mind, I'm 94 years old. I have 3 children. I have 5 grandchildren and 7 great-grandsons. That's my revenge to Hitler. So wow. That in mind, I am wanting to be useful tonight. I never ask people, how can I help you? No, I'm not Humpty Dumpty. I'm not putting anybody together. But I do ask, how can I keep your feelings company? Because we are put in a place we were not prepared for. And we were told one thing and we found another. And we are disappointed as long as we don't allow it to lead it to depression. And it's okay to be disappointed. It's okay, you know, as long as it doesn't lead to discouragement.
So why don't we start at the beginning? Can you tell us about your childhood growing up in
Yes,
Czechoslovakia.
yes, yes, yes. My parents had two beautiful girls, Magdalena, who is going to be 100 years old January 23rd. The thing is that I remember her born in 1921, and I thought she was 100 1 year ago, but I don't really mess things up. I have a feeling when my sister came to America and they asked her how old she is, and Hungarian women are very good at cutting a few years then. So this is my sister Magda, and then Clara, who was a child prodigy, who played the Mendelssohn violin concerto at the age of 6. And my parents decided to have a son. And guess what happened? My father told me that he slammed the door when he found out it's a third girl. Wanted to have a son to name the Rabbi Eger name. And so I was born into a family of very talented people. When I was 3 years old, I became very ill, some kind of a Spanish fever, I was told. And a doctor came in and put a needle in my ear, and somehow I was rendered cross-eyed. So I was teased a lot. Even my sister sang songs about me. Even my mom told me, maybe I was 8 years old when she looked at me and said, I'm glad you have brains because you have no looks. So I think I'm saying this today because I don't have time to be angry at my mother or blame anybody, because while you blame, you're still a child. So I think it's tonight the night when I can be your midwife, and you're pregnant and you're going to give birth to the true self, because that's how we call the ego, the false self. So I hope I'm going to be giving you an opportunity for an opportunity. So my childhood was such that my father played billiards and I took care of my mother. I took care of my mother, and she introduced me to people like books like Gone with the Wind, that someday I'm going to come to Terra, and I have this idea, and I did go to Terra. I did go to the places where my mother taught me there is a place called America. I went to a Jewish school. I am sorry to tell you that when we came out of the school, children spitting at us and called me a Christ killer. So anti-Semitism was alive and well, even in the 30s. I was born 1927 myself, and I spoke Hebrew. I was a very good Jewish student, and I read Hebrew and spoke Hebrew, and I was going to grow up to be a very proud Jew, and that happened. I met my boyfriend in a book club, and the two of us became very strong Zionists. And we had a goal that we're going to go to Palestine. And that was our goal. Unfortunately, he was killed a day before liberation. And I cannot really tell you that without tears. And I'm crying, not over what happened, but what didn't happen. What didn't happen? My parents, unfortunately, came to Auschwitz, and my father told me, Arbeit macht frei. He said, we're just going to work and go home. That didn't happen.
Yes, in your book, you write about the image of you and your sister and mother waiting
Yeah.
online. when you were being
Yes,
deported. Can you speak a little
yes,
bit about that? Because you refer to that often in the book.
yes, honey. We were in a line, and I held my mother, my sister also. And I never forgave myself because I was asked, is she your mother or is she your sister? And unfortunately, I said, that's my mother. So he pointed for my mother to go this way. And I followed my mom. This is very interesting. The very man who annihilated my family grabbed me, looked me in the eye. I never forget those eyes. I said, you're going to see your mother very soon. She's just going to take a shower. Promptly, I was on the other side, being interviewed by a couple. Those were the Jews, mostly Polish Jews, who came before I did. I'm part of the final solution of Eichmann, when 15 highly educated people celebrated that they can put 30,000 Jews in the oven without gassing them. And I'm part of that final solution. I arrived in Auschwitz. You can check it out with the Red Cross in May 1944. And so my boyfriend told me I have beautiful eyes and I have beautiful hands. So I would come to anybody, everybody, tell me about my eyes, tell me about my hands, because I'm going to see my boyfriend and I'm going to show him my hands. So what happened in Auschwitz, that it became an opportunity to make a decision whether you're going to live or die. Because if you touch the guard, you were shot right away, right in front of me. If you touch the unfortunate barbed wires, you were electrocuted. So the idea of fight or flee, it just didn't work at all. We had to create our true self, our inner self, which I am all about today. I have no time to live in the past, because there is one thing I cannot change, is the past. But I keep reminding people to be sure that we do everything in our power that will never ever happen again. So I like to be with the Chabad, because these are my beautiful people who are not just committed to the me, and completely I support the Chabad. I call them my beautiful, loving role models, because children don't do what we say, they do what they see. So Daddy is a big role model to the children, the way he treats the children's mother. And that's the wife.
So you are a dancer, and tell us, did that have an impact on you surviving the war? And if you can just share about the famous incident where you were asked to dance for Dr. Mengele.
Yes, I did not know that the person who asked me those questions was Dr. Mengele, and he came to the barracks and he wanted to know the newcomers who are talented. And my teacher from my Jewish school was there. And I never forget her finger. Did you ever see a bony finger? And she told me, do as you are told. And pretty soon, what's the music? And I said, the music is Tchaikovsky. And I'm dancing the Romeo and Juliet at the Budapest Opera House. You have to go and take time out and create the world. And I was able to dance. And then he gave me a piece of bread. And I had a choice then as you have a choice now to concentrate on what will I do with that piece of bread? And as hungry as I was, thank God, I climbed up and gave it to the girls and we shared. If you were just for the me, you didn't make it in Auschwitz. All we had was each other, and all we have is each other now. So I hope to be telling you that you have to be old to be young, to think young, to be childlike, but not childish. So I'm very proud to be with you and work as long as I live. I will never ever retire. I don't believe in retirement. I want to be useful. I never ask people, how can I help you? So I know that tonight is an important night for many, many people because it's January and wondering what are you holding on to and what are you willing to let go of. Willing is a very good English word. I use it a lot. That I'm willing to get up earlier in the morning. I'm willing to do I call it my shake and bake, because I have a bad scoliosis from the war. And so I think it's important for me to know that I go to bed tonight richer because you gave me an opportunity to be useful.
Okay, I just want to interrupt for just a minute. I forgot to mention in the beginning, if anybody has any questions, we will have some time at the end for question and answers. So you can you can use the chat feature to send your question, or you can send it privately if you'd like to Ricky Hecht, who's a co-host. You should find her name on the screen and you can direct message her with your questions, which will be asked at the end. So another question for you is, can you tell us about your moment of liberation? You go into vivid detail about it in the book, but can you share what it was like for you, what was going through your mind, and some of the details?
You know, many people told me for years to write a book, and I had an automatic response. I have nothing to say. But one day I got a call from Philip Zimbardo, who wrote the foreword, and said to me, you know, Edie, the people who survived and famous are all men. We need a female voice. So the choice really is a female voice of Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. But I'm not Viktor Frankl because he was 30-something in Auschwitz. He was already a medical doctor. But both of us used how to check out and how to wait for the Liberation Day and how to survive from moment to moment. Because 4 o'clock in the morning, I didn't know where I'm going to end up. I didn't know whether I'm going to be in a gas chamber. When I took a shower, I didn't know whether water or gas is going to come out. So this is the uncertainties that we are living today. And most people have much more difficulties than I do because I lived it and I say it, and we still have a choice between our emotion, because there is a stimulus and there is a response, and there is a little space in between that you never ever give up. So no yes but, yes and I'm here for a purpose. And people ask me, where was God in Auschwitz? God was with me. God didn't kill my parents, people did. We were not born to hate, we learn it. And so when I was liberated, if I may kind of take you on May 4th, 1945, when I was among the dead, and pretty soon I felt someone holding my hand. And all I saw was big lips And I'm telling that to Oprah, and she got up and she said, was he black? I said, yeah. And then I saw tears in the eyes and M&Ms in the hand. People bring me M&Ms all the time. I tell them to bring me salmon sashimi. That's what I like to do. Not M&Ms, but I'm so grateful for every moment, because we don't appreciate what we have until we lose it. So I'm pleased, very honored to be with you, with the rabbi and the beautiful interviewer. Thank you.
So tell us about the death march that you were on.
Well, that's why I told you when I was dancing for Dr. Mengele, and he gave me a piece of bread, and I climbed up and I gave it to the girls, that the girls that I shared the bread with. The death march was from Mauthausen to Gunskirchen, and I did revisit every place where I was myself. If you stopped, you were shot right away. I was about to stop, and I was about to shout, and the girls that I shared the bread with, they carried me so I wouldn't die. Isn't that amazing? The worst can bring out the best in us. And to me, Auschwitz, I will never want to run away from it. I don't want to deny it. People say you overcame. No, I didn't overcome. I'm reminded of it almost every day. If I am driving and I see blocks, and immediately I'm in Auschwitz, and I don't forget. I consider Auschwitz an opportunity to discover my inner resources and look at life from inside out. So the more dependency, the more you wait for someone to make you happy, I don't think that's a good way to go. Self-love is self-care. It's not narcissistic.
So in the book, sorry.
Questions I want to give you before we go on, the first question is, when did your childhood end? Because we grieve over not what happened, but what didn't happen. So my Lindsay asked me to buy her a dress to go to the dance, to her school. And of course, I am a big sucker. I bought her a beautiful dress. And I came home, and out of the blue, I was crying. I didn't understand. Understand is such an academic word anyway. I didn't understand why I'm crying. I just bought Lindsay a beauty Laura Ashley original. And I came to the realization that I'm not crying because Lindsay went to her dance. I cried because I never went to a dance. So there are defense mechanisms that people use, and one of them is denial. And one of them is minimization. It wasn't such a big thing. So what? Other people suffered more. I don't think it's a good idea to do that. I think God gave us Shiva. And the Jews are brilliant in what it takes to sit Shiva. And the Torah said, you can correct me, please. The Torah said, after 1 year, leave the dead alone. So, we don't go to the cemetery every day, and I think the Jewish people are much more realistic about, I call it grieving, feeling, and healing. I have yet to arrive. I'm still climbing the mountain, and I slip and I climb, and I never stop climbing. So I think I like to ask people, are you revolving or are you evolving? And I like to look at life as a metamorphosis. My house is filled with butterflies, and I have a couple of chairs full of butterflies too, because I like the idea of my definition of love, which is the ability to let go. Like I give up the need for other people's approval. So if I come to you, I tell you I would like to get to know you, I hope you would like to get to know me, and you say, well, thank you very much, and to tell you the truth, I'm really not interested. So look what happened. I wanted something, I risked, that's a good four-letter word, but I didn't get what I wanted. But that doesn't mean I was rejected, because rejection is just an English word that people make up to express a feeling when you don't get what you want. So I asked the two questions. One is, when did your childhood end? The second question, would you like to be married to you? You know, just kind of maybe throw it around and see where you are, and watch Gone with the Wind. But I think there is a better one. There's a better one. Watch the woman whose husband asks her, do you love me? And she says, what do you mean, do I love you? I gave you children. You're crazy. He says, I know, but do you love me? He wants to know whether he's just good enough to make children, or me, not what I'm useful for, but me, the only one for a lifetime and your life mate. I love that movie, don't you? Especially when she gets up in the morning and tells her husband the way she tells it, how the daughter is going to marry a guy. Remember that one? You know? And I never treat a person as they are. I treat them as if they were what they're capable of becoming. And then they rise to the occasion. So I get rid of yes, but, and I change it to yes, and.
So many pearls of wisdom. So many pearls of wisdom you're sharing with us tonight. Thank you. Can you tell us about your journey of healing? I'm sorry.
The journey of healing is a lifelong decision, whether you choose to be a victim. And we can send you that, actually. I have here what I say,
This.
Which one?
Oh.
This one, we're gonna send it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Victim or survivor, and the traits of victims and survivors. I'll send it to you, Shwani.
Victims are rigid, survivors are flexible. So we send it to you.
Okay, so you said before that you didn't forgive yourself for a long time because you felt responsible for your mother perishing in the Holocaust. But then many years later, you went back and you were finally able to forgive yourself. So what transpired and what led to you being able to finally forgive yourself?
I had two paraplegics coming to me, and I developed a reputation of being an expert on post-traumatic stress disorder. It's not a disorder, it's actually post-traumatic stress reaction. And that's a better way to put it. And one of them was angry and screaming and blaming. And the other one said to me, you know, Doc, I'm sitting in a wheelchair and God gave me a second chance in life. I can see the children's eyes much closer. I can see the flowers. And I wear a white coat, and it says Department of Psychiatry, Dr. Edith Eva Eger, and I feel like
Imposter.
a tremendous imposter because I came to America and I went to school and I went to school and I went to school, but I did not ever realize that there's a 16-year-old girl that I ran away from, and that's when I decided to go back to Auschwitz. So I'm going to my sister Magdalena, who is going to be 100 years old, the 23rd. I think it was last year, but never mind. So I tell you, I go to my sister and I told her I want to go back to Auschwitz. And we were there together, and would she please join me? And she called me an idiot. So that's why you can ask for what you want. That doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you're still better off because now you know where you stand with that person. So it's good to express anger, but most of all, forgiveness is not me forgiving you for what you did to me. It's me giving me a gift. Because if I would just live in the hate, I would still be a prisoner. And I refuse to give one more inch to the Nazis. So I think it's very important to really do the work. But most people are not willing. And when you're a victim, you're always going to find the victimizer.
Did you experience anti-Semitism after the war? And what do you think about everything that's going on today in terms of anti-Semitism?
Did you experience anti-Semitism after the war? And what do you think about what's going on now?
Yes. People looked at me and said, I thought you wouldn't come back. I thought you'd already died. More of you came back than you left. That's the welcome I got. When I came home, I was in a hospital. I could hardly breathe. I had 5 kinds of typhoid fever. And I got up in the morning thinking that my parents are going to come home. And I realized that they're not coming home. My boyfriend was killed the day before liberation. So instead of what? This is that existential vacuum that you have no meaning in your life and purpose in your existence. And that's what it's important. The Chabad will teach everyone who comes there, including my son, who was born with cerebral palsy. And I was told that he's going to be retarded. And my son John graduated as a top 10 student from the University of Texas. That's what. So instead of why me, what now? That's the only thing I can change. And I cannot change anyone.
So did you meet Dr. Frankel? I believe you met with Dr. Frankel. If you could just share a little bit about that.
Yes, I came home very late from the university in Texas, and someone gave me Man's Search for Meaning. So watch me, 2:00 in the morning, I'm still reading, and I'm gonna say, for one word, I can write 10 more words, just like that. And I wrote an article called
Viktor Frankl and me.
Viktor Frankl and me. Viktor Frankl and me. And someone sent it to him. And he wrote me a letter. I wish I had that letter to meet him in San Diego. It was called International University. That's where we met. And I became, of course, the admirer and hopefully a colleague with Viktor Frankl. And I did the keynote address. for his 90th birthday. And he was a remarkable man. He was climbing mountains even when he was 90. An amazing, amazing Renaissance man. Or I can tell you that without Viktor Frankl, I wouldn't be where I am myself. But I hope to be the me. And being a woman, I do a lot of work with women as well, especially women who were touched inappropriately. And so when a woman told me that's what happened to her, and she said, I don't know how to tell you that because you were in Auschwitz. And my answer was, I knew the enemy. You know, let's not judge things too quickly. Pain is pain, and pain is not good if you medicate it unless it's really very necessary, because grief is most important. Crying is what God gave us, that we're able to express and deal with that feeling of anger. Anger is not a bad word, but underneath of anger are a lot of other emotions. My experience is that there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of frustration, but most of all, a lot of fear. Get rid of your fears, because fear and love does not coexist.
Yep. So when you were describing about reading Dr. Frankl's book, I was thinking about when I got your book. I also stayed up all night reading it. And one of the things that you said in your book was that, quote, I would love to help you discover how to escape the concentration camp of your own mind and become the person you are meant to be. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by the concentration camp of your own mind? And it's interesting because this ties into right now in the Parsha, in the Torah portion, we're talking about the exodus of the Jewish people from Egypt. And this idea of freedom being more than just something physical, but something mental as well. So if you can just talk a little bit about that.
Oh my God, freedom has another effort go with it. Freedom from the concentration camp that you create, that is in your own mind, and the key is in your pocket. You don't have to go anywhere and be with anyone, really. That God was with me in Auschwitz, not to ever give up. My curiosity helped me to survive. So I ask today people, think about your thinking, because your thinking will create your feelings. So if you can change your thinking, you can get rid of the concentration camp that is in your mind, and the key is in your pocket.
Wow.
Take back your power. Take back your power.
Okay, my last question for you is, I'm going to talk about the last line in your book, which is, just want to read it from inside. In my 90 years of life, I have never felt so blessed and grateful or so young. And you wrote this book when you were 90 years old. And I think that's unbelievable. It's really special and speaks to your optimism and your youthfulness. And if you can just share, what is your secret to remaining so young and so optimistic through everything that you face?
Faith. I have faith that God put me here for a purpose, not to complain, to be for something, to be for life without judgment. And that's what Chabad is all about. So that's why I consider you the ambassadors for peace and goodwill.
Thank you. Thank you so much, really, for
Anytime.
everything you shared with us tonight.
I'm just ready to begin.
Yeah, the questions are going to start now from the audience.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Ricky to please share any questions that came in. And if
Thank
anybody
you.
thinks of anything, please go ahead and share that in the chat so we can ask.
Thank you, Ricky.
Hello. Hi, Dr.
Hello.
Eger. Wow,
Hi.
what an honor. I too read your book last year and I cried from the first page till the end. And it's such an honor to hear you live
Thank you.
tonight. So thank
Crying
you.
is good.
All right, we did get a few questions in the chat box. If anybody else has questions, feel free to send them in.
Okay.
The
I'm
first-
ready.
All right, the first question that we received, how did your personal experiences impact your choice of profession?
My curiosity wanted to know what makes people tick, why some people give up even there is no physiological reason, and why others would welcome it as an opportunity for discovering some ways to look at life from inside out rather than waiting for something happening from the outside. So I think it's very important for us to think about your thinking and pay attention what you're paying attention to. Any behavior you pay attention to, it reinforces that behavior. So, and you use two words, always, never. I'm always gonna find the wrong person. I'm never gonna find a man. I have a doctor friend, and she's waiting for the right man to come along. They're not showing up, and she's giving up. And I never always, I say, get rid of them, just say up till now, in the past. So the way you think, you create the atmosphere. I create an atmosphere that people can feel any feelings without the fear of being judged. There is no right feeling or wrong feeling. There is only my feeling and your feeling.
Thank you. Okay, another question.
Yes.
There are some survivors that are very open about their experiences during the Holocaust, while others are very quiet and private about what traumas they might have experienced. What are your thoughts about these differences? Is one way healthier than the other?
I think what comes out of your body never will make you ill. What stays in there does. Just like a pus, you have to push it out. And I think it's not fair from a parent to not communicate with the children. Whatever happened, I made it. I had you. See? I know that my grandchildren always ask me, how did you make it? How did you make it? So I think it's very important for us never to give up hope, no matter how bad it is. And instead of yes, but, to say yes, and I'm still here. And I do what is humanly possible and then hand it over to God.
All
My
right.
God is a free spirit. My God is Tinkerbell, free spirit.
All right. Someone wants to know, what brings you joy?
I think the ability to give of myself and guide people to be their own good parent to themselves. And get up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I love me. That's what that does. You take full charge of your thinking, feeling, and behavior. So if you tell me I'm not going to eat sugar anymore, and then you come and tell me, I just don't know how to give up the sugar. So nothing happens until you look at the sugar and tell yourself who's going to win today, you or me. Just think about before you say anything. When you want to say anything to anyone, ask yourself 2 questions. Is it important? Is it very, very important? And secondly, most of all, is it kind? And if
Okay,
it's kind, you don't say it.
thank you. What message would you share with today's youth?
I tell them that they are the ambassadors for peace and goodwill. I tell them that I count on them, that their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will never, ever experience what I did. That's what I say, and I'm here to be a good role model. Stay in school, stop smoking pot, when you're a teenager. Stay in school, please stay in school, because the more pieces of paper you pick up in America, the more doors open up for you. I graduated with honors, but you know what? I didn't show up for my graduation. I didn't give myself permission because I told myself that I deserve it. I don't deserve it because they are dead and I'm here alive. I had tremendous survivor's guilt. I'm better at that now. I do everything in my power not to put myself down and say yes, but. I say yes, and I'm still here, and I get up as happy as I can be. But happy is such a word, I don't know what to do with happy. Children are at the border and they're separated from their parents. And, how can I be happy when I see something like that? So I'm trying to be as cheerful as I can to you, but for me to be happy, I like to be a realist, not an idealist.
That's good ones. Okay. This person hasn't yet read your book and they would like to know, have you danced since your experience in Auschwitz?
Well, I can do the high kick for you still. It's not going to be as good. It's kind of halfway up there. But I never stop dancing. I'm always dancing. Whatever do you do, dance. I had a boyfriend for 6 years, and he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and they asked me to come and speak, and I will tell them that he knew how to go 2 steps right and 2 steps left, and then turn around and then ask me, is it a tango? Is it a
Cha-cha.
cha-cha? It doesn't matter because he only knew 2 to the right and 2 to the left and turn around. But he was an engineer, and engineers want to know, what will I do 2 months from now, Sunday afternoon, 5 o'clock. Engineers want to have an answer for everything. So you treat people as if they were what they're capable of becoming. You see, because when I talk to a 10-year-old, I will not say, sounds like you have cognitive dissonance. They never heard such a thing as cognitive dissonance. But sounds like your head is telling you one thing, and your mind is telling you another thing, and your heart is feeling da. So you meet people where they are and speak the language and join them to feel the feelings and keep it company. Don't cheer up a depressed person. They're going to be more depressed.
Right. Okay, you are 94 years young. Do you have any plans for the future?
I'm hoping that I will be 95 and celebrate. My daughter did a beautiful party for me when I was 85. So I go day by day, do the best I can. I stay inside. I don't travel. I just put on a beautiful scarf. I love the Zoom. See, I have a beautiful scarf. Tomorrow I'll put on another scarf. I have many, many scarves. And I think the Zoom is fabulous. So I just welcome what I do have, not what I lost, but what is left.
Well,
We're here, you and I, we're here. That's a fact.
a lot of amazing perspective. Thank you. Someone wants to know, are you still in touch with other survivors?
I have not been really seeking anything or anyone. People know where to reach me. And I think everyone has to do things their own way. I respect the survivors. I respect the survivors who choose to live in the present and not to forget or run away, not to fight the past, run from the past, or minimize it.
Okay.
Never in the history of mankind such a scientific and systematic annihilation of people existed than the Holocaust. It's not comparable to anything ever. And that I know that God saved me. So tell people, so I know that my parents didn't die in vain. I miss my mother. I miss my mother. I never had an adult relationship. When I had my children didn't have grandparents, aunts and uncles. I never want to deny it or minimize it. I know that suffering makes me stronger. Stronger.
The
Strong
world.
in yes, and
Okay.
I know that you are interviewing me tonight and you were wondering what questions to ask. And my husband asked me in New Zealand when I gave a keynote address to 2,800 people who we called the righteous Gentiles, who risked their life to save Jewish lives. And my husband asked me, what are you going to say? And I said to him, I don't know until I say it. You think I prepared for this talk?
Okay. Someone wants to know, the world right now is in a sad place. How can we cope with all the sadness that's around us?
Don't deny other people's truth. If someone tells me that pink elephants are crawling on that wall, I say, oh. I train a wife of a military person. The lower the rank, the more bossy they are when they come home. So this guy looks around the table and says, there is no ketchup on the table. And I tell her, don't get up. Just say, oh. You see, you don't have to say, you get up and you don't have to be unkind. Just say, oh, I acknowledge it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we could have. And because that's why I like to do premarital counseling, that you work as a couple, that the woman is working with the husband to form a team. And I think that's where I see the Chabad, that women and men both are truly taken care of, totally responsibly with the children. I know that because I've been to the school, I've been with those precious children, and they call me Gigi baby. Gigi for great grandma. And that little one calls me Gigi baby. That's fine. I'm happy to be your Gigi baby.
All right, we have one final question before we end. What was your reaction to the Eichmann trial?
What was your reaction to the Eichmann trial?
The Eichmann.
Yeah.
Oh my God! If I were there when if I would have been there,
Wow, you really just shifted the whole conversation with that question.
Yes, because it's a very important question. And I was watching 60 Minutes. It's called the Ricky Boys. I don't know if you watch 60 Minutes, please do. But these were Jews who came to America and went back interviewing the Nazis and prepared them for the Nuremberg trial. So these are the people I respect, that they show up and they are not talking so much about revenge, but to do everything possible, that people know that every behavior has not a punishment, but a consequence. And I think if I would have been there, I think I would have really wanted to know whether the Nazis were really awareness, when 15 highly educated people got together celebrating that now they can put 30,000 Jews in the oven. That I am very interested in, what people teach to their children. You know, when I had a patient who went to school, his friend had white bread with mayonnaise, with bologna. He had a Kaiser roll with roast beef, and he went home and told his mother he wants to have the white bread, Wonder Bread called it. And the children want to assimilate. And immigrants' children many times become parents to the parents. My little girl taught me how to speak English. She brought home a book called Chicken Little, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Loosey, Turkey Lurkey. I didn't know. And then she came home and said, you have to buy a turkey because Thanksgiving is coming up. I didn't know how to buy a turkey because I didn't have the money. So I went to a grocery store, this is in Baltimore, Maryland, called Schreiber's. And I saw, of course, everything there. And finally, I found the smallest chicken. So I go to the boss, and I give him my hand that he takes out 25 cents and 4 pennies. And I came to the bus, and in the bus, I did my choreography. And I came in all fired up, doing the high kick and the split. And I said, guess what? We're going to have a baby turkey. She didn't know. I didn't tell her we are poor. No. So you lie to the kid and create an atmosphere that she actually went back to school and said, I had a baby turkey. She thought it was a privilege. I think it's very important for us to know that God gave us mothers that wonderful sixth sense to tell the child what is good for the child. And I think you are that kind of a mother.
I hope
And
so.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
On
you.
that note, I just want to thank again everybody for joining us. And Dr. Eger, I heard that you're working on a recipe book with your daughter. Are you still working on that?
We're working on it, and if it's going to happen, it's going to be added to the second book, The Gift. And that's where you're going to find it. If you just ever finish it and get on with it, yes.
There's gonna be initially part of the new book will be added to the end of The Gift in the paperback version. And that will be happening later this year.
Okay, and for anyone who didn't yet read The Choice, I urge you to go and get it and read it. It really is life-changing, as
I'm gonna
Oprah said.
send you this.
Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Eger. We're so grateful for your time and for all the lessons that you've shared with us. And we want to wish you a wonderful a life of good health, happiness, joy, and continue to be able to continue to be an inspiration to so many as you are.
Thank you very much. I did get a call from London, from the rabbi, to talk to a man who just went through some tragic things. And I felt so good that I can talk to someone from London, and hopefully offer hope, that there is hope in hopelessness. So I hope we'll see each other again. And
So,
Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
okay, take care. Thank you so very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you again to all of our sponsors. We just switched the option. If you'd like, you can unmute and share anything you'd like with the audience. Thank you again to everybody who joined and to all of the sponsors for making tonight possible. And I want to wish all of you a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Great evening.
There was a question from one of the sponsors about the book, so we hope Dr. Eger sent them back. So as soon as we get them, we will be delivering them to your doors. So watch out for those.
Are you mailing them or are you just
Absolutely.
dropping them off?
We'll probably be delivering them, so we'll be in touch with you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Amazing woman.
Really amazing. Sense of humor and
94 years old. Oh
the
my
way she looks at life, it's great.
God.
I love it. Inspiration.
Yeah. Thank you. Laila.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Night.
Great night. Thank you.
Glad you joined, Lori.
Very inspirational. Thank you, Connie.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
night.